morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about what is learning disabilities. What are the characteristics and types of learning disabilities? So, before we go to our discussion, allow me to read the different definition of learning disabilities. So, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, defines specific learning disabilities as a disability in one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understanding or in using language, whether spoken or written, that may manifest in terms of imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or to perform mathematical calculations. So this includes perceptual disabilities, brain injury, minimal brain dysfunction, and developmental aphasia. So it does not include problems that are primarily the result of visual, hearing, or motor disabilities, of mental retardation, of emotional disturbance, or of environmental, cultural, or economic disadvantage. So the following criteria are usually considered severe discrepancy between one's intellectual ability and academic achievement. The learner difficulties are not the result of another known condition that can cause learning problems, and there is a need of special educational services. So, the first learning disability definition, according to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, is ability is one or more of the basic psychological process involved in understanding and using language. So, the first definition talks about on how can we identify if a person is having a learning disability. On the other hand, the National Joint Commission on Learning Disabilities, or NJCLD, defines learning disabilities as a general term referring to a heterogeneous group of disabilities manifested by significant difficulties in acquiring and using listening, speaking, reading, writing, reasoning, or mathematical abilities. These disabilities are inherited to the individual and are caused by dysfunction in the central nervous system that is present during one's lifespan. So, along with learning disabilities, one may also have problems in terms of self-regulation, social perception, and social interaction. Although one may have learning disability together with other handicapping conditions such as sensory impairment, mental retardation, and emotional disturbance, as well as other influences such as cultural differences and inadequate or inappropriate instruction. These conditions or influences are not the direct cause of learning disability. So the second definition, according to National Joint Commission on Learning Disabilities, defines learning disabilities manifested by significant difficulties that are inherent to the individual and are caused by dysfunction in the central nervous system that is present during one's lifespan. So, the third definition of the American Psychiatric Association, or APA, is usually used in clinical and diagnostic settings. Instead of learning disabilities, it uses the term learning disorder. Specific learning disorder is defined as a neurodevelopmental disorder that hinders one from learning academic skills. Learner diagnosed with specific learning disorder perform below average in terms of reading, writing, or mathematics. So the third definition talks about the American Psychiatric Association, or APA, learning disabilities used in clinical and diagnostic settings. Instead of learning disabilities, it is used the term learning disorder. So after we tackle about the different definition of learning disabilities, now we go to characteristics and types of learning disabilities. So individuals with learning disabilities have problems in terms of listening, reasoning, memory, attention, selecting and focusing on relevant, and in preserving and processing of visual and auditory information. Among the problems are reading problems, written language deficits, math underachievement, poor social skills, attention deficit, and hyperactivity, behavior problems, and low esteem or self-efficiency. So these are assumed to be caused by perceptual and cognitive processing difficulties. The following are the various characteristics of learners with learning disabilities. Although these are diverse at learners with learning disabilities and heterogeneous group, one thing is common is that they share their low achievement despite generally effective instruction and average level of intelligence. So here are the characteristics of learner with learning disability. The first one is reading problems. Learning have difficulties with accurate or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. The second is written language deficits. So learners' ability in terms of mechanics of writing, like spelling, punctuationing, is a way that below what is expected of their age. They also have difficulty communicating with ideas through writing. Math underachievement. Learners perform poorly than their peers is very type of math problem. They have significant difficulty in terms of retrieving number, facts, and solving story problems. So the fourth one is poor social skills. So they are prone to interpersonal problems which often lead to rejection, low social status, unpleasant interaction with teachers, difficulty making friends, and loneliness. And attention deficit and hyperactivity. So they have difficult paying attention to the particular task or become overactive. So it is possibly that a learner who exhibits this may have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or what we call ADHD and behavior problems. So incidences of behavior problems among those with learning disabilities are higher than unusual. So upon adolescence, those with learning disabilities are more likely to show risk-taking behavior such as smoking, marijuana, use of delinquency, aggressiveness, and gambling. The last one is low self-esteem or self-efficiency. Learners with learning disability are more likely to have low self-efficiency, mode, effort, and hope than their peers. So APA 2013 uses the following specifier in diagnosis of learner disorder. So with impairment in reading. So word reading accuracy, reading rate, or fluency reading comprehension. The second is with impairment in written expression, spelling accuracy, grammar and punctuation, accuracy, clarity or organization, or written expression. And the last one is with impairment in mathematics, that number sense, memorization or arithmetic facts, accurate or fluent calculations, or accurate math reasoning. So those are the different characteristics and types of learning disabilities. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. So, our topic for today is all about learning disabilities. So, unsa man jud ang learning disabilities? So, learning disabilities are a group of neurodevelopmental disorders that can significantly hamper a person's ability to learn new things. So as a result, the persons may have the trouble with tasks such as speaking, reading, writing, paying attention, understanding and information, remembering things, performing mathematical calculations, or coordinating movements. It is important to understand that people with learning disabilities generally have average to superior intelligence, are often gifted in the fields of science, mathematics, fine arts, and other creative mediums. The person is often bright and intelligent, but there are a gap between their potential and skills expected from a person of their age.
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD. This is defined as a persistent pattern of inattention and or hyperactivity, impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development. The main symptoms of ADHD are inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Inattention manifests in not attending to details, difficulty keeping one's attention to tasks or activities, not listening, not following through on instructions, disliking of tasks requiring sustained mental effort, frequent losing of things, being easily distracted, or being forgetful. An example of inattention is when a learner may start doing a task, but then doesn't follow through on it, one sidetracked. Hyperactivity and impulsivity could cause one to fidget and become restless. An example of this is when a child climbs on a furniture and becomes too loud or noisy. It can be described by being often on the go and as if being driven by a motor. Before discussing about the common characteristics of learners with ADHD, we should remember that those learners with ADHD may be first, inattentive but not hyperactive or impulsive. Second, hyperactive and impulsive but able to pay attention. And third, inattentive, hyperactive, and impulsive, which is the most common form of ADHD. Now, let us proceed to the characteristics of learners with ADHD. First, inattention. These are learners who are having trouble staying focused, easily gets distracted, or gets bored with a task before it is completed. Appearing to not listen when spoken to, having difficulty remembering things and following or making careless mistakes, having trouble staying organized, planning ahead and finishing projects, frequently losing or misplacing homeworks, books, toys, or other items. The second is hyperactivity. This is those students who are constantly fidgeting or squirming, having difficulty sitting still, playing quietly or relaxing, moving around constantly, often running or climbing inappropriately, talking excessively, and having a quick temper or short fuse. The third one is impulsivity. These are learners who are acting without thinking, guessing rather than taking time to solve a problem, or blurting out answers in class without waiting to be called on or hearing the whole question, intruding other people's conversations or games, often interrupting others, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, inability keeping powerful emotions in check, resulting in angry outbursts or temper tantrums. Usual comorbidity of ADHD. ADHD is usually comorbid with intellectual disability and learning disability. Other symptoms that may also come comorbid with ADHD are OCD or Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, ODD or Oppositional Defiant Disorder, CD or Conduct Disorder, Bipolar Disorder, Dyslexia, Tics or Tourette's, Asperger's Syndrome, Anxiety or Depression, Speech and Language, Sleep Disorders, Dyspraxia, and Substance Abuse.
Causes of ADHD. What causes ADHD exactly is still not yet fully understood. It is possible for children with ADHD to manifest the same behavior. Yet, this could be caused by different factors, whereas ADHD is considered a neurologically based disorder, there is no clear and consistent evidence that links it to brain damage or dysfunction. ADHD also shares symptoms with a lot of other genetically linked disorders such as Fragile X syndrome, Turner syndrome, and Williams syndrome, which shares ADHD's problem with attention and impulsivity. ADHD is also associated with other conditions including fetal alcohol syndrome, prenatal exposure to cocaine, and lead poisoning. Identification and treatment of ADHD. One of the tools that teachers can use in order to identify learners with ADHD is the Vanderbilt ADHD Diagnostic Teacher Rating Scale, which measures ADHD and other associated symptoms such as oppositional, defiant, and conduct disorders, and anxiety or depression symptoms. The following are some of the items of the scale that measures symptoms of ADHD. Vanderbilt ADHD Diagnostic Teacher Rating Scale items only. Behaviors are counted if they are scored 2 often or 3 very often. Inattention requires 6 or more counted behaviors from question 1 to 9 for indication of the predominantly inattentive subtype. Hyperactivity or impulsivity requires 6 or more counted behaviors from question 10 to 18 for indications of the predominantly hyperactive or impulsive subtype. Combined subtype requires 6 or more counted behaviors, each on both the inattention and hyperactive or impulsivity dimensions. This is the table of Vanderbilt ADHD Diagnostic Teachers Rating Scale. ADHD may be treated through medication or behaviorally based intervention medication. Behaviorally based intervention is derived from behavior analysis, are used to manage symptoms of ADHD. These interventions provide teachers and parents with practical strategies for teaching and living with children with ADHD. Among the methods are positive reinforcement for on-task behavior, modifying assignments and instructional activities to promote success, and systematically teaching self-control. Teacher may restructure the environment, provide differential consequences for the learner's behavior. Typical and atypical development. The following shows the stages of attention development, which could help teachers and parents identity whether the child is still at par with peers or if there is delay. This could be helpful in identifying whether a child could be having difficulty in terms of remembering and focusing, and if intervention is needed.
Okay, so let's proceed with chapter 13, all about principles and strategies of teaching and designing IEP for learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. So due to these difficulties, these learners require intensive and frequent individualized interventions. In this chapter, possible implementation in classroom and in development of the individual's education plan. So once an effective instructional method has been determined, the teacher continues to collect progress monitoring data to guide instructions and to track progress towards meeting individualized goals. So if the student failed to learn a particular concept, or struggle to learn it, there are different instructions or steps that may help them improve themselves. First is direct instruction, or DI. This is an evidence-based practice effective in increasing learners' achievement across different skills and content areas. This incorporates active responding to learners with systematic error and a system for monitoring progress. This is where teachers are explicit, teaching techniques to teach a specific skill to their students. So, the other one is response card. This will help identify scenarios that learners will give response to through the following steps. First, creating students' response cards using coded index card. And second is posing a question regarding the lesson discussed and waiting for learners' response cards. And lastly, performing quick scan across the classroom to see learners' answer. So this gives you an idea of who has a grasp on the information presented and who does not. So this strategy is meant to keep students actively engaged while you perform quickly and easy check for understanding. So at any point in the lesson, you can pose a question to your students, and rather than hearing from just one or two students, you get to see everyone's answer. Variations of response card include pinch or clip cards. Content categories is vary the words in the response cards based on the subject area or content being taught. So for example, the response choices could be words such as add, subtract, true or false, mammal or reptile, or fact or opinion. So popsicle sticks, instead of cards or pieces of paper, have students use and hold up colored popsicle sticks to represent their answer to the posed question and the paper point. Right? So next is self-monitoring. This is a behaviorally based intervention that promotes self-regulation, in which a person observes one behavior systematically and records occurrence and non-occurrence of a specific behavior. So, in this case, self-monitoring is a strategy that teaches students to self-assess their behavior, record the results. So, through it does not create new skills or knowledge, self-monitoring does increase or decrease the frequency, intensity, or duration of existence. So it also saves teachers time monitoring students' behavior. So explicit instruction. Explicit instructions is a way to teach in a direct, structured way. So when teachers use explicit instruction, they make lessons crystal clear. So they show kids how to start and succeed in a task. So they also give kids plenty of feedback and chances to practice teaching components could be used. Lesson opener. This could be in the form of a question to arouse the interest of the learners about the topic to be discussed. Before starting a few lessons, the teacher will ask the students to arouse the interest of the learners about the topic to be discussed. So, the teachers can use lesson openers like displaying a picture, writing a scrambled word on the board to help students quickly recognize the subject being presented. Next, explanation and modeling. This is the clear step-by-step procedure examples and non-examples of the topic today. Example. When teaching students about nouns, creating examples and non-examples will help students differentiate nouns from other parts of speech. So here is an example of non-example for noun example. A dog is a noun because a dog is a thing. And the non-example would be fast is not a noun because it is not a person, place, thing, or idea. Providing students with examples and non-example helps students to differentiate between the critical features and variables attributes of content and skills. Next is guided practice. In order to promote initial success and build confidence regulate in a difficulty of practice opportunities during the lesson, and provide students demonstrate success, you can gradually increase task difficulty as you decrease the level of guidance. Next is independent practice. These are developed activities intended for learners' practice in independent approach. So provide an opportunity for the students to perform the task or skill without prompting. During independent practice, the teacher encourages students to apply skills previously demonstrated. So, students then perform the task independently. Showing what they have learned and demonstrating their competency, the teacher's role in the independent practice is to support students as a facilitator. So, teaching strategies refer to the methods, techniques, procedures, and processes that the teacher uses during instruction. It is generally recognized that teaching strategy demonstrated. So, students then perform the task independently. Showing what they have learned and demonstrating their competency, the teacher's role in the independent practice is to support students as a facilitator. So, teaching strategies refer to the methods, techniques, procedures, and processes that the teacher uses during instruction. It is generally recognized that teaching strategies are multidimensional and their effectiveness depends on the context in which they are applied. So, there are types of teaching strategies. So, in this case, I will be explaining the types and subtypes so that you better understand the step-by-step procedure in learning. So the three types of teaching strategies is reading instruction, writing instruction, and the mathematics instruction. So reading instruction refers to teaching methods that are designed to build students' literacy inside and outside the classroom. So there are types of reading instructions. First is language experience approach. So the language experience approach, or LEA, is a whole language approach that promotes reading and writing through the use of personal experiences and oral language. So it can be used in tutorial or classroom settings with homogeneous or heterogeneous groups of learners. Next is kinesthetics, auditory visual emphasis. As you watch children grow and learn, it quickly becomes obvious that each child has their own way of learning and interacting with the world around them. Here is another example. One child may spend hours curled up with a book, while another uses any excuse to go outside just to play. And one child begs to go to the museum, while another can't stop pulling objects apart to discover how they work together. Next is directed reading. Directed reading thinking activity. So directed reading thinking activity, or DRTA, is a comprehension strategy that guides students in asking questions about the text. So making predictions and then reading to confirm or refute their predictions. So the DRTA process encourages students to be active and thoughtful readers. So basically one word can explain this is feeding your curiosity to enhancing their comprehension. It's also a way to make you more advanced or make you improve your understanding in each situations that you encountered. So next is the miscue analysis of oral reading. So a miscue is an unexpected response to a reading cue. So saying something different than what is in the passage. So a miscue analysis is the recording and review of miscues in order to determine a pattern of reading strategy. Just like it's like a puzzle. Pattern to pattern, you need dots to dots to connect information and to apply it in your own situations. Writing instructions will be next. So as I said that there are types of teaching strategies. Now the next or the second strategies that we'll be discussing is writing instructions. So the branch of literacy, teaching that involves the use of grammar, spelling, and vocabulary. So the word writing structures. So vocabulary, sentence structure, and paragraphing in order to formulate words in a meaningful manner to create different forms of writing such as story, poem, or informational piece. Subtypes of writing structures. First is study test technique. So study test technique is an approach to the teaching of spelling which utilizes a pretest to identify the term a kid knows. So, subsequently, a presumption of the terms the kid didn't know, and after that, a retest. Next is cognitive strategy. Cognitive strategy instruction in writing is one type of learning strategy that learners use in order to learn more successfully. So these include repetition, organizing new language, summarizing meaning, guessing meaning, and context using imagery for memorization. Next is self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to understand and manage your own behavior and reactions. So self-regulations help children and teenagers learn, behave well, get along with others, and become more independent day by day. So self-regulation begins to develop rapidly in the toddler and preschooler years until you grow up. Next is mathematics instructions, the third teaching strategies. So these early childhood classrooms is used to develop mentally appropriate practices so that mathematics is purposely and meaningful for young children. Subtypes of these mathematics structures is a motivational approach. Approach motivation is a motivation that directs individuals towards something. Example, towards a goal, when individuals are approach motivated. So they feel energized, capable, powerful, and determined to work and also to move forward. Next is error analysis. Error analysis is a method used to document the errors that appear in learning language, determine whether those errors are systematic, and explain what caused them. I will be giving another example of what are other ways will teachers help learners or their students learn. So for example, two groups will deliver their responses to the class. So the teacher will write on the board the fundamental necessities like water, food, and shelter. So everyone reads the words in the list, and students are asked to define basic human requirements. So basically, they are using their brain, all those activities they use for them to learn. So when the class discussion and results are finished, the students rise up and showcase their work and performance as a group in a designated section of the classroom. So the teachers move about, complimenting the pupils, their work, and soliciting feedback from other groups. So the teacher then displays their effort on the classroom pride wall and photograph the given tableau and upload it to the best output. So this highlights the benefits of collaborate group and will help students to improve their personality and most especially their knowledge.
Good day everyone. Once again, my name is Antoinette Pedad and I'm going to discuss the introduction of the chapter 14, which is the trends and issues in teaching learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. So this chapter provides information on the prevalence of learning disabilities and ADHD in the Philippines, which are among the common disabilities of learners with difficulty remembering and focusing in the country. Moreover, in acknowledgement that aside from classroom instruction, other school support services are crucial as well in the success of an inclusive education program. A research on the effect of support services to college students with learning disabilities and ADHD is presented. So since we talk a lot of prevalence and ADHD, allow me to give the definition of prevalence and ADHD. Okay, so prevalence refers to the total number of individuals in the population who have a disease or health condition at a specific period of time, usually expressed as a percentage of the population. And this prevalence is connected to ADHD, since ADHD is a health condition of a human being. ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is one of the most common neurodevelopmental disorders of childhood. It is usually first diagnosed in childhood and often lasts into adulthood. Children with ADHD may have trouble paying attention, controlling impulsive behaviors, may act without thinking about what the result will be, or be overly active. So, the health condition of ADHD is something to do with they have difficult to focus. They are active, mostly active, and they often have tantrums rather. Now, move forward to prevalence of learning disabilities and ADHD in the Philippines. Learning disabilities and ADHD are among the common disabilities of students who receive inclusive education in the Philippines. Based on extrapolated statistics, there are an estimated 1,458,499 cases of learning disabilities in the Philippines, according to Right Diagnosis in 2018. On the other hand, the extrapolated statistics estimate for ADHD prevalence in the Philippines is 1,046,314 cases, according to MindMed 2018. So in upcoming years, imagine if the population is growing, there's another chance that this health condition, would be raised. Due to the large number of learners with these conditions, it is important to pay attention to strategies and techniques that can be used in order to provide effective inclusive education to learners with learning disabilities and ADHD. Moreover, support services are important as well in order to provide them with holistic inclusive education. So when we talk about support services, we are talking about the family, the parents of the child who had a health condition or a disabilities. So with their help, we can acknowledge or merge our strategies to them on how to handle their child when it comes to education, since education is very important to the individual or to the children. Okay, that's it. So that's the chapter 14, the introduction of the prevalence of learning disabilities and ADHD in the Philippines. Any questions or clarification? If you have any concerns regarding to this topic, you may raise it during our class. Thank you and have a nice day.
Hello, good day everyone. I'm Kent and I'll be discussing the study by DuPaul that evaluates the impact of 3 support services, which is tutoring, coaching, and academic advising on the academic performance of students concerning educational intervention, support services with a focus on college students with learning disorders and ADHD. By the way, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent patterns of inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity that can impact an individual's daily functioning and quality of life. First up, tutoring. The students were given an opportunity to avail of individual or small group tutoring services on an as-needed basis. The tutoring services provided customized sessions intended to help students with writing, organization, reading, note-taking, preparation for tests, content-specific tutoring, and other related topics. Meaning, the tutoring component involves affording students the option to access personalized individual or small group tutoring services as required. These sessions are tailored to address diverse academic needs and encompassing assistance in writing, organization, reading, note-taking, test preparation, and content-specific tutoring and other relevant subjects. Second, coaching. In the coaching aspect of my report, The students were granted access to a coaching centered as required, trained and certified coaches, compromise of professional faculty and staff, employed a non-directive approach to encourage metacognitive thinking and self-determination. The coaching session conducted one-on-one were designed to evaluate students' academic functioning and promote a sense of self-determination, contributing to their overall growth and autonomy in the educational setting. Lastly, academic advising. These meetings involves reflecting on academic progress, discussing completed assignments, and reviewing assessments results since the last meeting. The advisor played a crucial role in assisting students in setting future goals and facilitating access to additional support services such as counseling and tutoring. The support extended to helping students transition to a four-year college students, for example, involving parents in their progress. Advisors maintained ongoing communication with classroom faculty, monitoring student progress and promptly providing reports on both success and potential challenges.